Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to Organizing an ADHD Brain, where the perfect place to start is right where you are. I'm your host, Megs Crawford. I'm a professional organizer, an ADHD coach, and a fellow work in progress. Because let's be honest, we're all work in progress. This season, season 3, we're talking about the messy middle. Not about the before, not about the after, but all of the stuff that comes in between. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of stuff that comes in between that perfect before and after picture. So let's jump right in. Hey, everyone. I'm so happy to be back here. It's Megs. If you are new here, I'm so thrilled to have you along this ride. This is season 3, and we're going to be talking about the messy middle. And if you're returning, you know that my husband and I just sold our house in Colorado back in July, and we sold most of our stuff and we moved to the East Coast. So to fill you in, I want to give you a little bit of an update. And why I want to talk about the messy middle, because that has been something that I've been super passionate about as we're going through it. So my husband and I decided earlier, well, I guess late last year, that we wanted to sell our house in Colorado. And it's not because we didn't totally and completely love it or love our neighbors. There were a lot of other reasons why we made this decision. We sold our house. We were able to sell private sale, which was pretty cool, a little unconventional, but we sold our house by owner and we sold most of the stuff in it as well. I've talked about selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace before, and gosh, did I have a garage sale or two. We sold most of our stuff and drove across the country in a trailer. I have pictures of it, and I will totally be posting that in the community, at least, possibly on Instagram as well. But regardless, we didn't have much as we traveled across the country. And one thing we decided to do was take our time. I told my husband as we began this journey, I just didn't want to rush. My entire life, I felt like I've been in a rush. I've been in a rush to get where I'm going. I remember being in car rides as a kid, and we would drive by these really cool places. And my parents would say, maybe we'll stop by that place one day. And we never did. But it's always been about getting from one place to the other. I really wanted to take our time. And so slowly but surely, we decided to take our time. So the first thing we did was stop in Nashville, and we lived there for a week. We went to the Nashville Hall of Fame. We went to the Taylor Swift Education Center, and there was an event called a petting zoo for instruments that day, which was really cool. And we got to try out different instruments, and Charlotte decided that she wants to play the violin, and we found this really cool little wooden frog that made a frog noise because of the way that it was carved out, and it was really neat. From there, we made our way to northern Georgia. Now, why did we pick these places? Well, Nashville we wanted to go to, and Georgia because we have family there, but also the Airbnb we found had a slide in it, and that was one of our deciding factors. We ended up living on the top of a mountain, and it's Mount Oglethorpe, if you're familiar with the mountain, and it was so incredibly gorgeous. If you've been following along with my blog journey, you'll know that we almost didn't make it to the top of this mountain with the trailer that we have and the car that is barely towing this trailer behind it. So that was a journey. But in Georgia, we saw bears and we spent time with family. We went on a lot of hikes and we spent a lot of time together. It was definitely an interesting adventure. Oh, and there were spiders. There were so many spiders. I've never actually seen so many spiders in one place. In fact, so many that I've become a little immune to them. I don't think that I would have ever said this to you. I don't even believe that I'm saying this to you, but I could actually go up to a spider now and it doesn't scare me as much as it did before. Regardless, there was a lot. There were a lot of bugs, and mushrooms, and we walked into a spider web or two, my husband and I. Yeah, we had an adventure in Georgia. From there, we slowly made our way up north to Massachusetts is where we're living now. We ended up living in someone's house for a couple days. They have a farm and they had horses and a really cool place for our dogs to go and run. We lived in Rhode Island for a little bit and we saw some more family and it was really pretty awesome. And then we made it to Massachusetts. Here we are renting. And as of this taping, we haven't even been here a month yet. We are in a new place. I actually grew up right around the corner from here, but it's still new. There's people that we know, but none of our systems are the same. And none of the ways that we've lived before are normal. In fact, nothing about what we're doing feels normal or real. The more I talked about how we got across the country, people are like, what the hell are you doing with your life? Well, I guess whatever we want, because we're creating our own reality. But none of this feels really comfortable right now. We're in a really uncomfortable place because my husband decided to leave his job and he is seeking out a job here on the East Coast. He works in beer. So if any of you are listening and know about any beer positions in Massachusetts, let us know. But it's been interesting. And this all relates to organizing, I promise, because first of all, we lived out of suitcases. We lived out of suitcases in Nashville and then in Georgia. We were living out of a trailer. I didn't even have any silly putty anymore. And if you know me, I play with silly putty. I'm literally playing with, that's what I do to record my podcast and to keep me focused on the task at hand. And I'm going to tell you this, Georgia didn't have silly putty anywhere, not at any of the grocery stores, not at Walgreens, not at Target. I don't know what they were playing there in Georgia. And no one would deliver a package to the top of the mountain that we were living on. So that was certainly interesting. It's been interesting. I wouldn't trade this time for the world. And I miss so much of what we left behind in Colorado. I wouldn't go back. I don't have any regrets, but it stinks. It really is hard. It's kind of awful and also amazing. My husband and I have this unique situation where our love story is super cool. I ended up moving out to Colorado when I had graduated from college with my political science degree, and I didn't have a job and I didn't want to work in the restaurant industry anymore. So I moved out to Colorado on a prayer, and I had family that let me live with them, which was really, really amazing. What's interesting is my husband had left his home in Arizona and also moved to Colorado without a job and not knowing what was next. Him and I met and fell in love at a brewery, a local brewery in the area, met some incredible people, built a community there in Colorado, and we fell in love and built our family together. So something that him and I know deep down is that taking big risks and taking ourselves out of our comfort zone will give us the opportunity to grow. When we were in Colorado, we felt as if we didn't know what was next for us. Now, look, we could have built something else in Colorado. We could have taken ourselves out of our comfort zone there. Yes, absolutely. But we really wanted an adventure, and boy, did we create it. Part of when you make a gigantic change in your life, it's not as if you don't want it, but you start to challenge yourself and second guess why you started in the first place. It can be really annoying. So we started out in Colorado and we made it to the other side, but we're still not at the quote unquote end yet. Now, if we take a zoom out, let's talk about this messy middle, right? We're born and then we live a life and then we die. Okay. There's the messy middle in between is the whole damn life, right? What I really want to talk about is you get into this point as an adult or as anyone in life where you get into a comfort zone. Okay. You get into this comfort zone and it might not be exactly where you want to be, but it's comfortable. And in order for you to make any sort of change, you have to make a conscious decision to make that change. But then to get from being in this comfort zone to a new comfort zone, you have to go through this thing called the messy middle. You've got to get through this point where you're making this change your new reality and your new normal. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. But that's what organizing comes down to. You decide that, my gosh, I see all of this stuff around me. I need to figure out how to get organized. I need to make a change. And so you start to listen to podcasts and you start to read self-help books and you start to understand the different kinds of actions you can take to get to the other side. Oftentimes, what we don't think of with ADHD is what that other side actually looks like and what it feels like, and some of the roadblocks we're going to hit along the way. Because let's be honest, sometimes we forget that we wanted to make a change. Or sometimes we've decided that we're going to make 15 changes and we create this entire elaborate plan. And then the following week, forget that that plan ever existed because we're on to something new. We have a new idea. We have a new thought process along the way to figure out what's next. There's so many different ways that we approach change. And I think about how do we get organized with ADHD? It is not as simple as saying, I'm going to put this in a place and then this is now the place for the thing and now I am organized. Or maybe it is that simple. I don't know. But I've now coached enough people and observed my own behaviors in a way that allows me to understand this in a new way. I think what's interesting is that once you start, you uncover this Pandora's box, if you will. And if you're not familiar with Pandora's box, is basically you just open the box and then you can't close it again. When you start to truly pay attention to clutter and start to truly understand its impact on your life, you can't necessarily hide from it anymore because you've now trained yourself to look at it and to observe it and to see what the effect is on your life. But we beat ourselves up because we expect it to be easy. Like, oh, organization. Like, why can't I just do it? It's just putting things in places and making it look pretty. We're good at making things look pretty, let's be honest. But it's not as simple as that. Plus, we have so much crap. And then you want us to let it go? Like, what am I supposed to keep? And what am I supposed to let go? And like, I've got so many ideas. And what if I do want to go scuba diving again? I'm going to keep that box of scuba diving gear because I have it. And that's expensive to buy again. So the way you get organized is you got to start. And it does not matter where you start. And that's why I say it all the time. It's exactly where you are. Literally. Where are you right now? Are you in your car? Okay, well, don't do anything while you're in your car. Keep driving. But are you in your car and do you have a mess in there? Pick one thing to take inside today. One thing. I'm not talking about clean your whole car. Pick up a piece of trash and throw it away. That's it. Or are you in your living room and there's some dirty dishes? Pick up the dirty dishes, put them in the sink. Right? Or do you notice one thing that doesn't belong there? Pick it up and put it somewhere else. That's how you get started. It is as simple as that. We've got to get rid of this all or nothing mindset and not get rid of it in that it doesn't still exist, because it does. It doesn't ever go away because we're not changing ADHD. We're not curing it. We're just observing it. Your all or nothing thinking isn't necessarily going to go away. So get rid of it by observing it and saying, I can't live that way, and attacking things one at a time. That's how you start. Start with one thing, just one. Make a decision, a full decision. We'll talk about that. And then understand why the hell you're doing it. What are you seeking? Why do you want to get to this change on the other side? Why do you want to be an organized person? What does that mean for you? What is the feeling that you will have once you are organized? There's so many things that my clients have told me or that I've observed myself or that I'm seeking, right? And part of it's control. I want to have control over my life. I want to feel peace. I want it to be easy. For goodness sakes, I want this life to be easy. In a world where we're constantly inundated with information, I just want it to be easy. Understanding your why is so incredibly important. Like, what am I seeking? Why am I doing this? So my husband and I, we decided to sell our house, and so many people asked us why. And our answer is we wanted an adventure. More than that, we wanted to see what this new adventure would allow us to learn about ourselves. But also, like last week, I was like, why the hell did we do this? Because we're in this messy middle. It doesn't feel good right now. And I'm questioning everything. And that's why you have to know your why so that you can come back to it and say, oh, we're doing this because we want peace. We want more. We want more than what we had. It wasn't that we weren't grateful for it, right? And so part of it is being grateful along the way. Oh my God, there's so many things. Like I could go off on so many tangents because there's so much more to organizing than just putting things in places, especially when it comes to ADHD. But I'm going to make it as simple as possible. I want you to start today and think about, what are you seeking and why do you want a more organized life? And ultimately, at the end of it, what does that look like for you? Does that mean you have like this perfect basement full of all of these different activities that you have, and you have one of those really cool shelves with all of those interchangeable buckets, and each of them are labeled meticulously with all of the different adventures you want to go on? Are you a decorator and you love to decorate for fall and for Christmas and for spring and for like that weird holiday that no one decorates for except for you, and you have a tub of stuff for it? Is that what you want? Or do you want to be a minimalist? Do you want to have just less stuff and less stuff to worry about? Or do you craft and you finally want to be able to walk into your craft room and have a space where you can create and things have a place and you don't feel so overwhelmed to clean up afterwards, because none of us want to clean up. And part of the overwhelm is because we don't know where any of it goes and we're too afraid to trust ourselves to actually go and find it again, right? But what do you want? And what is that feeling that you're seeking? It's so important to know that why. With ADHD, we are driven by our emotions to do certain things or to not do certain things. And on a regular basis, we are scanning our environment for threats. And for the most part, we act on those threats from a reactionary measure. And so when we're looking at our clutter, we can run away from it, which a lot of us do and did for a really long time until we decided to take action on it. Or we decide to fight it, right? Anyone ever angry clean out there? Or we decide to do all the research on it. I've had clients who have read more books about organizing than I ever have, and they know so much, don't know where to start. Or it's simply just feeling like a deer in headlights. There's so many ways that we act around our environment. What's interesting about this and why I continue to do this podcast is because, oh my God, the things that I could talk about are endless. I started as a professional organizer and then became an ADHD coach, and then now have a community where I support women with ADHD and some men. This is so much more than organization. And while I focus on that, and I will continue to focus on that, there's just so much more to it. If you want to have a more organized office, but you don't have a routine that you start the day with, or understand how a routine could benefit you, or understand how your brain works, I don't want to tell you that you need to back up and start at this one place. Still start, right? Like if you feel the need and you're taking action, just take action on anything, one thing, and just do it. But when I'm coaching someone, there's so much more to building a routine around making this a part of your life than just doing it in a weekend. And what I typically start with is knowing your why and understanding what you're seeking. How do you measure progress with organizing? What will you accept as evidence that you are making progress? So I want you to think about that again. I've said that so many times. What's your why? Why are you doing this? What's the feeling you're seeking? But part of the messy middle is continuing to face our clutter head on from a space that we're actually making progress, from a space where we're making full decisions on whether or not we're keeping things in our home or letting things go. For so much of our lives, we take things from one space and we put it in another space, or we create doom piles, which is didn't organize, only moved piles, or we put it in a room just hopefully that no one will go into, because that at least gets it out of the way and creates this illusion that I'm an organized person when on the inside I'm chaos. And truthfully, it manifests around me, but I don't know how to share that with the world because it feels so unsafe. The amount of people that have told me that they're embarrassed by their clutter is countless. The people that have told me that they need my help, or they're ready to get organized, or they want to do something, but they don't even want to show me pictures of what their house looks like. Like, you wouldn't even believe it. Yeah, I would. I've seen it all. I've seen everything. I've seen all the stuff, right? And I've even been in it when I first started, like, cat pee and dead mice. Like, I've seen it. I've seen what real clutter and craziness looks like. And I lived it. That was me. Some people sometimes don't even really believe it. And I don't have a lot of stuff anymore, but my goodness, is the ADHD still ADHDing up there? But even when you want real change, it's really uncomfortable. It feels really gross. And honestly, we avoid discomfort, which is why we scan our environment for threats, because we're looking for where we might feel uncomfortable and we run in the opposite direction. We do it with clutter. We sometimes do it with finances. We do it with difficult conversations. We do it with things we don't want to address head on, things that don't bring us that dopamine hit, right? We have an interest-based nervous system. So we're going to do the things that we want. We're going to avoid the things that we don't want to do. And clutter is not fun. It's not something that we want to do. So we've got to understand our why. We've got to start to understand that, look, no matter where you start, that discomfort isn't going to go away until you continue to come back to it time and time again. I started this podcast because I wanted to help people get organized. I continue this podcast because holy smokes, have I learned a whole lot about ADHD and why it's so hard to get there. So, we're going to talk about the messy middle of change. I'm going to come to you with more interviews. I'm going to talk to people about their failures and how they picked themselves up and dusted themselves off so that they could continue going. Right? And how did they get to the other side? The point where they felt like they were finally there. They made it, right? They could write their self-help book and say, here's what you have to do. Here's this perfectly crafted plan. But what did you have to do to get there? Because I'm going to tell you this, you could listen to this podcast all day long. I could give you a step-by-step guide in how to do it. And you're still going to create your own way of doing it. And you could read every self-help book and every organizing book out there. And guess what? You're still going to figure out your own way of doing it. You've got to be able to be willing to fail and to find your success along the way and to understand why you're doing it. I also share a lot of solo episodes because, oh man, do I have some crazy, messy middle stories for you. We're going to talk about some good stuff, and I'm really excited to bring that to you. I want to leave you with a really funny story. At least I think it's funny. We are renting, and we are living in a rental that all the furniture is already here. We don't have to buy anything. We're buying a couple things, right? Things that I know that will help us feel a little bit more organized. And as we're setting things up, my gosh, we have no systems. I don't know where anything goes. And we're having to create that along the way by communicating and figuring it out. And it's great that I have taught other people how to do this and taught myself. Now I'm having to reteach myself. So I almost feel like a beginner again. And it makes sense that people with ADHD aren't great at organization because this executive function of it, it's hard to break down. Okay, so I ended up buying a bunch of command strips because I don't want to hammer anything into the walls. I don't want to create, more work for us eventually when we end up moving out. And my best friend came over the other day to cut the girl's hair, and she has two little boys. And so when she came over, I had the command strips in my hand. And I'm like, I just need to put these away. I had these command strips in my hand, and I was all over the place because there was so much going on, and I put them away. And then guess what? I couldn't find these darn command strips. And as I'm going through this, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I did not ask myself, where would I go to look for these if I were trying to find them? I just put them somewhere, which is so a thing that I used to do and so a thing that so many of us do. Okay, right? Because we're just trying to live our lives, and there's so much stuff to put away. Good God. So I put them away. And then I couldn't find them. And I even embarrassingly text my friend. I was like, Ash, did you see me with these command strips? Did you happen to notice the path I took to put these away? Oh my gosh, can you draw me a map of where I was? I couldn't find them. I looked in every drawer. I look under every surface, even in the most unconventional of spaces. And you know this. If you have ADHD and you're listening to this, you know that you've searched in all these places for the place you thought you put the thing. And then I was like, forget it. I'm just going to go out and buy new command strips because I want to put things up. I want to be able to hang things. That makes me feel good. And I want more color in my life. That's important to me. And then literally, I found them the same day that I bought these silly command strips. So now I have an abundance of command strips. I share this because when we are in fight or flight mode, and when we are in the back of our brain, not thinking consciously, we just do things. We do things to get things done because we're just trying to figure it out. We're just trying to go with the flow and get things out of the way so that we can live a life that feels normal for a moment, or to have people over, to spend time with our kids. But when we're not making conscious decisions, we're ultimately going to lose things again. We're not going to be able to find them again. And when you're, I'm dealing with a lot less stuff over here, but felt myself start to, I felt like these negative thoughts start to creep up, and these shameful thoughts, right? How could I call myself a professional organizer as I lose command strips? Because that's what I do. I know how to ask the right questions. I know how to support you. I know how your brain works. I know why you're going to act this way because I see it. I've experienced it. And even if I don't approach things one way, I see a client that approaches things the same way that you do because we all have a little bit different ADHD. And I'm good at what I do. I can say that even if I'm losing command strips or losing my mind or I feel chaotic or I feel like I'm in this ridiculous, messy middle that feels totally and completely uncomfortable. Part of this journey is getting to the point where you feel comfortable being uncomfortable. And to me, what that means is recognizing when I'm feeling really uncomfortable and changing the narrative and saying, oh, I'm growing. Oh, this is where the growth happens. Like, what's the lesson here? Oh, well, when it's chaos and when I'm trying to figure out everything that's going on and when I'm trying to put things away so quickly that I'm not actually thinking about it, then I'm going to just create more chaos for myself. And what a great lesson to continue to learn time and time again. I'm sure it's going to happen again. And I have tools in my back pocket to help me know that I can fix it. And honestly, it's okay that I have more command strips than I could ever possibly need in my life. It's fine. All right. My point is that you can make big changes and you can be more organized. It's not going to happen overnight. And sometimes it's going to suck, but you can do it. And you're actually not alone in doing it. There's a lot of other people that are trying to make this change too, because we all have a lot of stuff. It's so easy to get stuff these days. So what do? We decide we want to make a change. We figure out why. We figure out the feeling that we're seeking. We start taking action. And that's it. That's all I want you to think about this. That's all I want you to think about today. Also, I really wanted to share with you because so many people use the word ADD and ADHD interchangeably. The term ADD was replaced with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, back in 1987. The reason why they changed that was because of a whole bunch of diagnostic criteria. But what they found is that hyperactivity, the H part of ADHD, is found either in the body movements, right? Like, so hyperactive body, right? A lot of us used to think that ADD was something that only little boys could have because they were so hyper and crazy. We know so much more now. But hyperactivity also shows up in the mind. I'm sure you can understand where that comes from, right? ADHD is now the widely used term since 1987 for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So just a fun fact, I know a lot of people still say, oh, I just have ADD because I don't present as hyperactive. Well, your brain is hyperactive, which is why it's still ADHD. Just some interesting information. There's more to it than that. So I'll post an article if you are interested in learning a little bit more, but just some fun stuff that you can take with you today. I have a couple announcements and I'm super excited. Right now, the community is open. So you're welcome to join the ADHD community. And what we do is have body doubling sessions where we just do quiet body doubling. It's just a chance for you to get things done around people who are also trying to get things done. We also have virtual decluttering sessions where we talk about letting go and what we're working on. And it's just an excuse to have a scheduled decluttering session. We do group coaching sessions, and we also have live webinars, either from me or a guest. And it's really awesome. We've got a beautiful community of women that are just trying to get stuff done and understand our brains along the way. In addition to that, I am taking on 2 new coaching clients in the month of October. And so if that's something that you are interested in and need some additional help, please get on my calendar. Links in the show notes below, and we can talk about if coaching is a good fit. But in addition to that, I'm really excited to be launching a group coaching program. I've never done this before, but there is power in groups, which is why I started the membership. So starting on October 13th, I'm going to be launching a 6-week group coaching program to help you get decluttered before the holidays. But it's so much more than that. It's really just understanding your brain and how to attack so many of the things that we're used to reacting to on a regular basis. So I'm excited to be talking to you more about what that looks like. For more information, go to organizinganadhdbrain.com and either sign up for the email or simply check out the different web pages to find out more. If you have any specific questions that you don't see listed, email info@organizinganadhdbrain.com and either myself or my incredible husband will get back to you right away. On that note, buckle up, ADHDers, because there's a lot I have to share with you. and I can't wait. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening to Organizing an ADHD Brain. Just remember, I am not a doctor or a mental health professional. Everything I share here comes from my own lived experiences or my professional experience coaching other ADHD humans. If you need medical or mental health advice, please reach out to a licensed medical professional. What you hear on this podcast is for support and education, and how you use the information is completely up to you. For more resources, free downloads, and different ways to work with me, whether through coaching or the community, please go to organizinganadhdbrain.com. And don't forget, the perfect place to start is right where you are.